Justin Franson here with Richard LaPlante. We are on live today with you. Thank you so much for joining us on our Go Beyond Summit, Richard.
It is my great pleasure, Justin.
Well, we were introduced through a mutual friend of ours, Mark Harrington, and Mark is the consciousathletes.com, and he's just unbelievable as far as working with athletes and corporations. And when he threw out your name, I just respect his opinion so much because he's so wise. I think he predicted the president a year and a half before the president became the president. He just knowing the universe and that.
Well, that's grounds for listening to him.
I know. I mean, it was crazy. Not whether he wanted it or not, I don't know, but he predicted it. So it was just unbelievable, his wisdom. So to have you on, it's really special. So for everyone who doesn't know Richard, he's published 14 novels. And so he's had a life before this as far as in the fitness and breathing world. And right now he is an expert in breathing. And we're going to talk about breathing. And one of the standalones, I mean, there's guys out there that are doing some great work, the Brian McKenzies, the Wim Hofs, the Laird Hamiltons, they're all bringing in their own spin on this. And I know Richard studied with several of them, but what he does that they don't do is he brings in actual breathing into your exercise, your strength training to get more out of strength training, not just breathe in and breathe out, on the proper time. It's so much more in depth. And he's going to show you that program and how to actually do it. And he actually has a product, a breathing stick that he sells. He has his realstrengthnow.com website that you can just sign up and register for. It's just a nominal monthly fee to get access to him and his wisdom every month of the year. So highly recommend that. So Richard, I want to turn it over to you and have you share with us, how do you breathe when we're strength training?
First of all, let me tell you how it started.
All right.
I was 10 years old, and I fell out of a tree. I broke my neck. So I was put in a body cast and kept out of school.
Yeah.
When that cast came off, my body had so atrophied from being in this big plaster cast, out of a 30 or 40 pound cast, that I needed to be rehabbed. So they sent me to the elementary school gym teacher. And he turned me on to barbells and dumbbells. At first, though, because of my frailty, I couldn't lift a barbell, so he had me lift a broomstick to show me the form. Because he said it was all about form, and if you don't want to injure yourself, it's about form. And so he showed me, say, a clean and a press. So a clean is bringing the barbell to here, and a press is pressing above your shoulder. That's called a compound exercise. Uses more than one joint and muscle group. But as he watched me do it, he said, well, I've got to teach you to breathe. He said, you're not breathing right. You've been in that cast. Look, I'm struggling. It's all through my mouth. He said, you've got to learn how to breathe, kid. You've got to learn how to breathe. Well, I was more interested in building muscle, but he wouldn't allow me until I closed my mouth, inhaled, and then exhaled, and in and ex. As it went on, I became more interested in building my musculature. I started to read books by other strongmen. It was Eugene Sandow. He was an old-time strongman. There was Strength and Health magazine. And I would go through them and look for bits about how these guys breathed, because Mr. Bradford was the teacher. He made such a thing about breathing. Then I got into yoga, and I noticed it was all about breath. As I got older, I got into Pilates. It was all about breath. And then I spent more than 20, almost 30 years doing one form of martial art or the other, 20 years with the Japanese Karate Association. I went into Western boxing, and it was all about breath. So I took basic yoga, and the postures are called asanas. And I thought, okay, there's the warrior pose, there's yes, but it's about breathing, diaphragmatic breath. I say deep breathing, by the way. People don't mean deep like, they mean deep from the center of your body, from the diaphragm, and using what's called the pelvic floor, which is that band of muscle that puts your coccyx together with your pubic bone, holds you together. That's breathing. Pilates uses that breathing too. And I thought, well, why, if the practice of yoga is based upon breath, and that makes this an internal discipline, because as you train the body, you're training the breath. Why doesn't anyone do that in a weight room? Why, when you do a clean and a press, aren't you using conscious diaphragmatic breath? Wouldn't that, number one, make you more present? So you're not sitting in the weight room doing sets and then talking about lunch in between sets. You're actually conscious that you're there, like you're supposed to be conscious in a yoga studio. You know where your feet are, grounded on the floor. Why not do that with weights? It would then make it a very, very different discipline. So I started to employ martial arts style breathing, yoga style breathing, Pilates style breathing. When I say style breathing, emphasis on the diaphragm, emphasis on lifting the pelvic floor, and putting it into just basic weight training exercise or free exercise, just a push-up. And it started to make sense to me that I was getting a double workout. I wasn't only getting my musculature in shape, but I was working the internals of my body and in the process calming my mind, because breath is a calming feature. We have two nervous systems. Well, we have more than two, but two that are, we're either in fight or flight, or we're in rest or digest. When you're in the weight room and you're pushing those last 2 repetitions of a weight, you're in fight or flight. The adrenaline, cortisol, fight or flight. As soon as you're out of that weight room, you want to be in rest and digest so that you have recovery and regeneration. That can be, to a great degree, controlled by breathing. Central nervous system can be controlled by conscious breathing. So why not take this conscious breathing and add it into bodybuilding style exercise? And that's basically what Real Strength Now has done. It gives you a method of breathing that you can take anywhere. You can take it when you drive a car or into the weight room. It's conscious breath.
Awesome. Now, can you give us an example of that? So if I'm going to actually do a dumbbell curl, just for my biceps, the beach muscles, how would I breathe properly on a dumbbell?
First of all, I wouldn't really find, I don't like dumbbell curls. I'd rather do a undergrip chin, to use the biceps as the primary muscle and use the other muscles. I like compound movement. I think it's obviously much superior. That's called an isolation movement. But I will, so let's, for the sake of it, take the barbell curl. The general way we do the barbell curl, and this is if you're using the breath that a trainer will teach you, and most people don't even use that, is there's 2 phases of the curl. The concentric, which is when you contract the muscle up. That's when you peak the muscle, that's concentric. And the eccentric, as the dumbbell goes down, the muscle's still under tension, it's lengthening. It's actually the lengthening that causes little fibrous tears in the muscle, and that's how you're building muscle in the eccentric phase. But generally, your eccentric phase is the inhale. Concentric is the exhale. That's generally it. They don't tell you nose or mouth. I'm a nose breather. The nose is designed for breathing. First of all, there's paranasal sinuses that create what's nitric oxide right up here, which is a dilator, which opens the breathing passageway. So it's a superior form of breath, nose breathing. So instead of just the general mouth open, like, I would take that curl, breathe, inhale through the nose at the bottom of the movement, and exhale slowly. But as I exhale, I'm lifting consciously, not only the bicep, but the wall of my abdomen up beneath my ribs and my pelvic floor, that band of muscle that unites my pubic bone and my coccyx, is tightening. So I'm not only working the arm, but I'm working this part of my body, the core, the essential core of my body. So that bicep curl is working more than the biceps. It becomes a more total exercise. My feet then are grounded on the floor. So I'm feeling my feet. So the exercise becomes conscious. It's an exercise is in conscious training. And that conscious transfers out of the gym. Instead of put the weight down, I'm out of here. It becomes more, I don't want to become esoteric and lose people who want biceps. It becomes more a moving meditation than just a grunt exercise. Generally done slower, and the eccentric phase slower than the concentric. And the breath to match the phase. Sometimes if I want to be slow with the eccentric or lengthening phase, I'll breathe more than once. Instead of just, it can be. And I'll also use visualization. You think, if you're working, don't forget now, we're still working this area here. Pelvic floor, abdominal muscles. But I'll visualize the bicep, and each time I come up, I'm going deeper, deeper into the fibers of the last two repetitions. The last two repetitions, you're digging into the fast twitch fiber. They're the repetitions where you don't want to go further. That's your fail. You can psychologically or physically fail. You're deep into the fast twitch fiber. And that is all enabled by consciousness, conscious breath, including the visualization of it. Have I lost you? Or does it make sense?
No, definitely. It's fantastic. I mean, it's just a deeper level of connecting to the core.
It's taking that gymnasium and turning it into the equivalent of a serious yoga studio. You know, yoga, yoga, yoga. Well, the gym has flexibility, it's full range of motion if you do the exercise correctly. The barbell is its own form of yoga, so to speak. But you don't need a barbell. I use a lot of static and dynamic contraction movement. It's a little bit trickier to get progressive resistance with static, with isometric exercise to progress it. But you can progress it with a number of breaths and the holds. But they are very good for strengthening and toning the body. And that's where the stick comes in. That's why I use the breathing stick.
Awesome. Now, share with us nitric oxide. Why is that so important for the body? How is that relationship connected with carbon dioxide and being able to have improve your breath capacity and health?
All right. There's nitric oxide not in the paranasal sinuses, but also in the membrane throughout the body. It is the vasodilator. That's what Viagra is. It's a vasodilator, nitric oxide. You want to have the passageways open to ensure the flow of oxygen. At any time, we carry 95 to 99% oxygen through the hemoglobin. That's called oxygen saturation. Everybody's got about that. The trick is to use the oxygen. The trick to use the oxygen is carbon dioxide. People go, oh, that's a waste gas. No, carbon dioxide is an enabler. That's your exchange gas. Without carbon dioxide, you can't exchange for oxygen. So you could have 100% saturation flowing around and around and around, but you can't get to it. It just passes in, passes out. You're wasting air, so to speak, wasting breath, so to speak. So part of the type of training I do, whether it's with a stick or with a barbell or with free weight, with my body weight, is trying to make my body more oxygen efficient. Oxygen efficient means I tolerate carbon dioxide better. There are certain techniques to do that. Wim Hof uses a particular technique. His technique, I mean, he combines his with ice, which is I mean, he's brilliant. Bottego a Russian, and I think Patrick McGowan is his pupil. He has another technique called oxygen advantage, and I've been working with one of his students. But basically, all techniques do the same thing. It's if I take my breathing stick, just say, okay, I'm going to press it 5 times. I'm breathing in, out. I'm lifting my pelvic floor, so I'm also internally working. Now I'm going to pause on the exhale and continue the movement. What this is doing is my body wants oxygen, but it can't get it. So I have a little oxygen deprivation going on and a carbon dioxide buildup. So eventually, what will happen is my brain will set itself to tolerate more carbon dioxide, which will make me more oxygen efficient because I'll be able to use more oxygen, more exchange, so that 95 to 99% that's flowing through my body gets used as opposed to flow in, flow out, flow in. Let's have no wasting my breath. I'm not wasting my breath. What this will eventually do is cause me to breathe fewer times per minute. But I'm not talking about breathing like this. I'm talking about breathing little breaths, light, small breaths. In martial arts, sometimes you look at your opponent's midsection to see how he's breathing, because maybe you want to catch him on the inhale. So you have to see great martial artists, you can't see him breathe or her breathe. You just can't see breath. It's belly breath. But they're so efficient with the use of that breath that it's imperceptible. They always say, breathe until you can't be heard breathing. Breathe until you can't hear yourself breathe. Breathe until you can't feel yourself breathe. So it's oxygen efficiency. So if you take that oxygen efficiency and apply it to a weight room, say we're doing a seated chest press. Now, don't forget, I'm using that abdominal breathing, diaphragmatic. So pelvic floor is getting exercise. But say I hit 8 reps. That's all I can go. Now I go to anaerobic metabolism to get those last 2 reps, because that's all I can do on my current aerobic capacity. I can increase that aerobic capacity by becoming more tolerant of CO2. Instead of hitting anaerobic on 8 reps, I may get to 10, so that becomes a 12 repetition set. So you go, does it make you stronger? Yes. Does it make you more endurance? Yes. The way you use oxygen is key to everything I'm talking about. It's key to the yoga studio, the weight room, to the dance floor. It's key. You're efficient. You want the body to be efficiently using the oxygen you inhale through your nose. And the reason the nose is more efficient than the mouth is the nose creates nitric oxide. It also is a narrower passage. So there is a slight, it's too much air in, too much CO2 out. The nose is meant for breathing. I try to train when I train without opening my mouth at all. Now, sometimes if I'll hit repetitions that are really, really, as far as I'm in anaerobic, I'll exhale through my mouth, but I'll purse my lips to control the exhale. So instead of that narrows the passage, it also increases my abdomen, my abdominal wall comes up. So I'm still exercising this bit of me, including the pelvic floor. And the pelvic floor stabilizes the movement, that little band of muscle. And it stabilizes the movement in a punch, boxing punch, a karate punch. So it's using groups of muscles that we don't even think of half the time and becoming conscious of them that increases our strength and endurance. And it becomes not only is the oxygen more efficiently used, the actual movement becomes more efficient. It's more conscious. It's less random. I did 3 like that, I did like that. You're aware of the nuance of the movement. It's not random. There's a great difference. It's the difference between a master and someone who's just learning. Just learning. And most people never go past the just learning bit. They get a conditioning coach or a strength coach, and the guy, okay, do 8 reps here. And what do you have for lunch? Yeah, okay, that's great. 3 sets. No, you're not. My goal is to teach people to become their own teacher. I teach a method of training and breathing that you can take to any place, whether it's bicycling, running, playing tennis, boxing, writing a book. You become more conscious. It's about developing consciousness. The means is incidental. The breath is essential.
Awesome. Now, Richard, tell us about your stick, your breathing stick.
About 21 years ago, I thought I was doing the breath just with my hands or with a barbell. And I thought, a conductor to conduct music uses a baton. You know? I thought, how about if I had a baton to conduct my breath? Would it make it more accurate? And so I used a broomstick. I picked up a broomstick. If I stand up, can you see me anymore? Tell me. Yes. Wait, I also use a lot of karate stances. I'm in one now called Shikodachi stance, which is a square stance. And that gives me a static hold on my quadriceps. Anyway, so conducting the breath. Lifting the curtain, letting the air in, closing, letting it out. And when I close it, the lock is the pelvic floor, it's locked. My abdominal wall is up. So I lift. What the stick is doing is providing an object of focus, a linear object, an object of grounding where my feet are grounded to the floor, my hands are grounded to the stick. So it's grounding. I'm all together, and the breath is the uniting force. And I try to coincide the breathing in and the breathing out with a conscious movement of the stick. So it's not willy-nilly, it's just no, it's here it comes. I'm opening myself to breath. Closing. I can also use the stick if I breathe in here and then push against the stick. This hand this way, this. Compressing the stick. There goes my chest in a static contraction. If I breathe in, breathe in again and pull the stick apart. There goes my back muscles in a static contraction. So the stick can also be used as a strengthening device. I can work out totally with the breathing stick. I do squats with it. No, it has no weight. And that progressive resistance is done by increasing the breath with the contraction. Because in order to progress with strength, you have to progress with resistance. So it was a broomstick, and then I had an Aikido man make me, he's a woodworker, make me these beautiful sticks, which is what I use in my classes. But sticks the focal point, object of attention, guides the breath, keeps me conscious, feet on the floor, hands on the stick.
I love it. I mean, it's such a simple message. Learn how to breathe properly and get stronger, period. It's not lift more and get stronger. It's breathe more efficiently and get stronger.
Correct.
So simple. Awesome. Richard, thank you for that wisdom and so many take-homes for everybody. You guys, realstrengthnow.com, RichardLaPlante, check him out. Get on his monthly deal and learn and just keep growing on this. This is awesome. I mean, everyone's talking about breathing now. It's kind of like the big buzz, but no one's talking about it in this fashion. And that's why, he's on and not everyone else. Because it's not about jumping in a cold plunge and warming your temperature up. I mean, that's great. Meditation, you just click on a spot in your brain and you could warm your temperature up. But that takes practice. That's a meditation stuff. This is like something that you're doing every day. You go to the gym that you can incorporate into your life and get stronger and more efficient and have a better VO2 max. I mean, this is the essence of performance, and that's why I love it so much. So you guys, he's in Ojai, if you ever want to reach out to him as well. And so thank you, Richard, so much. Any final words of wisdom for everybody?
I hope I didn't go on. I hope I didn't know too much from someone. I get very into this. Sometimes simplicity is the best. I hope I remain simple enough. But no, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Obviously, I'm passionate about this. Happened since I was a little boy. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be on.
You bet. My pleasure, Richard. RichardLaPlante, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.